Okay, everybody, welcome to day 2 on the law of the gospel. And so it's interesting. I spent a lot of time last month, literally talking about the law of obedience, and I never really defined what a law actually is. And so, since we haven't talked about what is a law, a law, stated simply, is something that is laid down, set, or fixed. And each of us needs to come to understand the importance of divine law. When we ignore divine law, laws that come from our Heavenly Father, eternal law, we really are only limiting ourselves and our divine potential. The divine law is the way things really are and the way things really will be. It is reality. It's what controls this universe and a multiplicity of others. That's what President Nelson said in 2017. So, a knowledge of divine law and effective righteous action go hand in hand. And the more we come to know God's laws, and the more importantly, probably the way we live them, the more effective our righteous actions will be. So President Nelson said this, and I just want to quote it for you, and it's a little bit long, but I think it's super important in relationship to truly understanding what law actually is and how important it is that you and I become those laws, live those laws, take action on those laws, and through the atonement of Jesus Christ become those laws. So President Nelson says, divine law is incontrovertible, and irrefutable. Divine law cannot be denied or disputed. And when God's laws are obeyed, relevant blessings always result. Blessings are always predicated upon obedience to applicable laws. Existentialists can expound, relativists can rationalize with their constricted, I love that word, constricted views of reality, that truth is only a subjective experience. Laws are laws. God's truth is really true. What God says is right, and what he says is wrong. That is why, this President Nelson continued, he says, that is why it's imperative that you know God's laws. They control this universe, like I said, and multitudes of others. Boy, that would be a discussion for someday now, wouldn't it? When divine laws are broken, consequences follow. Even though our hearts ache for those who break God's laws, and I have several in my life, penalties must be paid. Divine law must be obeyed. He then goes on to say this, and I think it's super important to add this part into what President Nelson actually teaches, because I think this is a basis for truly understanding what law is, what the law of the gospel is. And he continues on, and he says this, as an apostle, so this is President Nelson, I plead with you. Boy, man, I love that language. He always says that, and I wonder if we're paying attention, to learn God's irrevocable laws. Learn them by study and by faith. That means, among other things, living by every word that proceedeth forth from the mouth of God. He then goes on, continues to say, pray to discern between God's laws and the philosophies of men. Boy, that is super huge in the day and age we live in preparation for the second coming, because there's a lot of God's laws being mixed with the philosophies of men, and we should never do that. So he says, pray to discern God's laws and the philosophies of men, including those cunning counterfeits of the adversary. Through eons of time, Lucifer has honed his craft. He is skilled at distraction, distortion, deception, and misdirection. I plead with you to avoid his cunning snares as you would avoid a plague. He continues, entrapments designed by Satan can only bring you to misery, spiritual captivity, and death. This is true every time. The sad consequences of yielding to Lucifer's lures are predictable, dependable, repeatable, and regrettable. And then finally, with this final short paragraph, he says, conversely, and this is a promise from our former prophet, right? I promise that as you keep God's commandments, as you live by his laws, you'll become increasingly free. That's true. This freedom will unveil to you your divine nature and allow you to prosper personally. You will be free from the bondage of sin. You will be free to be you, an effective, righteous leader. You will be prepared to lead by precept and by example wherever you are needed. Happily, the blessing of keeping God's commandments are also predictable, dependable, and repeatable. So good, huh? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's really, really amazing. So, my friends, day 2 on the law of gospel. What is law, right? My friends, divine laws and obedience to them is happiness. And I just want to let you know that anything else will leave you empty, unfulfilled, and disappointed. And if you choose to live the law of the gospel, you will receive the greatest happiness and joy, and become like our Heavenly Father, truly become what He wants you to become, and have joy throughout all eternity, and have everything that you could ever want throughout all eternity. Okay, day 2 in the books, talking about what laws are, what divine law is, right? And tomorrow we're going to talk about what is the gospel. Like, if we really got into it, what is the gospel of Jesus Christ? Okay, thanks for being here today. Hope you'll like and subscribe. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.